It's not that I'm like, well, I'm not going to do this thing that would keep him safe because I don't want to annoy the teacher. Absolutely not. I'm going to do everything that is required. Mm-hmm. But like, I also really, really worked hard to think of reasonable things.
Being handed those tools.
Yep.
Lifeline. Okay, now I can dig my claws in. Now I can be an advocate. Now I can be one of the people who takes care of your little person.
You're sorry for existing?
I'm sorry for having a immune system that doesn't function normal, and I did nothing to make it happen this way.
By the way, you had no choice in the matter.
And doctors don't even know why.
Hi. Hello. And welcome to EpiPod.
Sarah is a mom to 2 little boys with food allergies.
And Danielle has navigated life-threatening allergies her entire life.
Living with an invisible health condition is so isolating.
The fear and the anxiety.
Trying to cover it up so you don't affect anybody else.
Especially your kids. Sound familiar?
Join us on the couch and take a load off with people who just get it.
We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back to EpiPod, presented by Lorissa's Kitchen.
Hey, Danielle.
Hi, Sarah.
How are you doing?
Honestly, I'm having a low moment.
Oh, no.
But it's fine. We're going to be fine.
Mainly associated with the house hunt?
Yeah. I just got some really disappointing news about, I fell in love with this house and I thought it was going to go through, and then it's not going to go through. We talk about this all the time, but disappointing things, I literally cried myself to sleep last night. It's totally fine. But disappointing things or frustrating things, they don't register on a scale when you have food allergies. Cause I'm my dose went amazing this morning. No problems. I had an amazing therapy session last night with my therapist. No problems. Basically she was like, you're working really hard.
Yes.
I'm really proud of you. And I was like, thank you. I am working really hard to we were talking about it a couple episodes ago, but just unpack the snowballness of just safety behaviors, still run off from the pandemic stuff. So really annoying, but impactful things where you live is really important. Your environment, it still doesn't register. I'm you know what? It just sort of this, I'll have a cry about it and then it slides off my back like water off a duck's back. It's zoop, gone. Because if it's not about allergies, I'm nothing really else matters other than your safety and your loved ones and your health. And Lord knows, we know what it's like for that to flip on a dime.
Totally.
So I'm this sucks. That's okay.
Yeah. And you hate to be it could always be worse. It could be allergies, because when people tell you that, it could always be worse, you want to slap them in the face.
Totally.
But it's not really that. It's just putting things into perspective. If you're healthy, if it's not allergy related, you can handle the rest, you know? I am sorry that you're going through that. You will figure it out. It will work out. But I know in the moment, things like that are so just hard.
Yeah. I always land on my feet, but I don't know what it is. Something moving has always been really hard on me.
It's hard in general.
Emotionally though.
Yes.
Even if I hate the place where I'm at, which currently my apartment is just not a good fit for me. I'm it's just, what is that saying? Death, divorce, and moving are the 3 things that rock your system the worst.
Sounds right. I don't know, but it sounds right.
I've not done the first 2.
Yeah.
Hopefully I won't ever get divorced.
Right.
Currently I'm married to myself and my obsession with dog content. So.
And people love it. It's
people love it. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm okay. I feel, as always, I've got a million things going on, but it is what it is. I think, we've got our trip coming up. We're excited about, which I guess when this airs will be over. So hopefully all the work will be
hopefully your trip is amazing.
Yes. I also was going to share, and this kind of leads in today, we're going to be talking about kind of back to school and all it takes, which is a lot of mental energy and just actual physical work to keep your food allergy kids safe at school. So this kind of leads into it. I was going to share, one of my close friends, her son has a peanut allergy, and she has him in camp this summer because she works. And there was an incident at camp recently, and basically a kid who they didn't really know, and they usually know all the kids in their small community that go to this camp. And apparently there was this one child who was kind of new, and I don't know if he was an acting out type of a kid or a quiet kid. They're still piecing together what is going on in this kid's life, because clearly there are issues. And a few things happened, but one of them was allergy related. He was asking him or telling her son, my friend's son, to hold his peanut butter sandwich, like knew he was allergic, asked him, and then was like, you need to hold this bag that had his peanut butter sandwich in it, and was recording him like upset.
Wait, how old are these kids?
Little, like 8.
What does he have a phone for at this age?
Kids have phones, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I got my first phone when I was 13.
They do, and parents say like it's for safety, and I see that argument for sure. Like, I think that makes sense. I think there are other ways besides like a smartphone to be in contact probably with your child, but this one at the very least had video capabilities, and was like, he was really upset, because he was scared of his allergen.
So he was holding the bag?
And but he felt, he's 8, like he felt like he had to. This bigger kid was telling him to do something, and so he was holding it like really upset, and the little boy was like filming him. It was awful.
That's wretched.
It's actually very disturbing.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is like serial killer in the making vibes.
Yes, and so that's why I feel like I always have to think about the other kid. I'm like, he's obviously awful and I want to slap him, but also like something must be going on terrible in this child's life for him to like at this young of an age do something so bully-esque and just, again, kind of disturbing to like record a child. But all of this to say, like, my friend's kid was fine. She found out about it, and all has been taken care of in terms of like director notified. This kid has some discipline going on, / just not coming back to the camp. Like, it's all okay. But it made me think like, I need to have more detailed conversations with Graham, because I don't ever want him to feel like he's, other or different. I don't want him to feel like he's at greater risk of being bullied. Like, I don't want to put that in his head, but at the same time, like, I need him to know that like, if this situation were to arise, not necessarily this particular one, but if something like this were to happen, like, here's what you need to do.
You don't have to do what the older kid says.
No.
You go get an adult immediately.
Yes.
Like, I have 1,001 questions,
Yeah.
and then I can like weigh in a little bit as the adult perspective on the bullying side of things. But first, like, was there any sort of reaction? Like, did he go wash his hands?
Yeah, I mean, I think he
like, knew what
to
to
go. Yeah, like once things were taken care of. But even as an adult, when somebody puts you on the spot, or I think you shared like the plane incident that happened to you, and you think in hindsight you'd be like, you're such an asshole. Sit down. Like, this is my life. You have all these things to say to the person
100%.
Later. But in the moment, you're so shell-shocked. And think about that's as an adult, we feel that way. But as a child,
oh my gosh,
you don't even have those like brain functions yet, right? And so, yes, we need to talk to our kids about like how to handle situations, but also we have to understand that like their brains aren't fully formed. Like, they haven't had as much life experience as us. And so I think it goes well, not only because it was in about camp and being around other kids, but like when we're talking about going back to school, yes, it's preparing your kid. It's also very much like sitting down extensively with whether it's a camp director or the school principal or the school, the teacher that your child is going to have that year, to talk through like, it's not just, hey, my kid can't have this allergen. Hey, my kid, if he has this and has a reaction, we need to use epinephrine. It's like, these are things that happen. I need you to be watching out for bullying. I need you to be making sure we're educating the other kids in the class so that they're not joking about it, because it's not a joke. It's like all these little things that you have to do in order to make sure that like your child has the best success in a setting when they're not around you.
Yeah. I experienced actually a lot of bullying as a kid, but not about peanuts. Like we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Like, I don't remember being bullied with peanuts. I was never, thank God, felt like somebody was trying to threaten me with peanuts, but I did have a lot of bullying. Like, there is no one meaner than a 7th grade girl.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. But it started a lot earlier. Like, when you were talking about you don't want to put it in Graham's head, I was aware truly from 1st grade up what bullying was, and that I had a pack of bullies from 1st grade through 8th grade when we left that fall. That
gosh.
school. They were not 7th grade girls. They were boys in my class. And it was like this 4 group of boys, like you were saying, had a lot going on in their home life. I think 2 of them are in jail right now as adults. So like,
it's
like,
tracking.
Totally. It's totally tracking. Like you can see these signs early on, but, it was about other things. Like my dad now is in his mid 80s, but back then he was in his mid 50s. Like my dad was older than the rest of the dads, and that they knew that was a push button. Yeah. Like they knew, like, I don't know, but they like figuring out what it was that would get me going. They would then dig into it. So it's just so nuanced of a conversation. And like, maybe that requires like, I don't know, like child psychologist or something. Like I wish I was a competitive horseback rider. So like I had a sports psychologist that would like help me map out like, okay, when the horse gets scared or when you get scared, like this is how you approach the competition.
Oh, how interesting.
I could totally see going back in time, being like working with somebody. I don't know if that's a psychologist or some sort of strategist to be like, they can't, bullies are horses. They're stupid and they're animals of prey who run and freak out and like whatever. But like, you can't let them know that you're afraid of that, because then they'll press on that. And I do remember once, like, because they knew I had an allergy. Like, I remember them once being like, oh, I'm going to put this in your Oreos or something. And I don't know what exactly I said to diffuse it, but all the other buttons got pushed for all 8 years, but the allergy one never was. And I don't remember why.
Yeah.
If it was like, oh, we can make fun of her because of like her dad or her hair or her sports or whatever it was that they were pressing on that year.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because those are lower stakes. I don't know, but I do think it's worth saying, like, Graham hopefully will never know that.
Yeah.
But like a kid can know what bullying is, allergy related or not.
Right.
Really early on.
Well, sadly, and I think a lot of times it's because they're probably bullied a little bit at home. Like they might come from really bad, or not even really bad, but just like parents who are not emotionally mature and in a way bully their kids. So that's like the behavior that they're used to. And whenever they feel like they have any power over anybody else, that's the example they have, right?
Yeah, totally. I just remember like being a kid and being like, they can't know, like as long as you let them believe that doesn't bother you, they may still push on it, but like it will be a lot worse if they know that it can bother you. But allergies, that's life or death. Yeah. How do you
that's what I was going to say.
Them know that that's going to, of course, that would make me shake in my boots now.
Yeah. It gives me chills thinking about it. And you're right. It's like, you can make fun of somebody for having an old dad and that might mentally hurt, but it's not going to physically harm you.
Totally.
And I mean, again, you could argue, I guess, that like severe mental trauma and things like that does physically harm you, but like not in the immediate, right? So yeah, if you're in a situation being bullied by someone who's threatening you with the allergen, like that example of the even high school kid here in Austin who was, approached about, are you deathly allergic to peanuts? And then they put it in his football equipment and he had a reaction.
I do remember once telling somebody I would sue them.
Hell yeah.
Like I remember being known as the girl who would tell people that they were going to get sued. And I am now like, these memories are coming back being like, you think that's funny?
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to sue you and then we'll see how funny that is. And like, I remember doing that.
I love that.
In high school, not related to something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was always threatening the lawyers. Yeah.
I mean, use what you got,
Totally.
Like
I also like went to the principal a lot. Like they were my bestie. Like both principals in middle school and in high school, I was like friends with. Like to this day, they're like pen pals of mine.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
Like we're still friends.
Yeah, a little bit of a brown noser, but it paid off in your favor.
It wasn't even brown noser. I was like, see you at Thanksgiving.
Oh, they were like legitimate friends.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay.
But no, like at any little thing that would happen that was like actually whatever, I remember like going just directly to the principal office. I would like give the secretary the hand and be like, I'm going in to go see Mr. Kodos. And I remember sometimes he would be like, you need to like toughen up. And sometimes him being like, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
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 So,
oh man.
Anyways, we should do like
a full bullying episode.
A full bullying episode and maybe get some outside voices.
I think
on
so.
That for that.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea. In terms of going back to school,
yes.
I think, yes, I mean, conversations need to be had. That's for sure. But kind of drawing it back even further.
Now would be a good time to tell you a little bit more about our presenting sponsor, Lorissa's Kitchen. Lorissa started Lorissa's Kitchen in 2016 with a simple mission to bring better, healthier options to the meat snacks category.
However, after the birth of her third child and several challenging years helping him work through a laundry list of food allergies, she knew it was time to take that mission to the next level. Provide those same high-quality, healthier options, but now ensure that they are certified free from the top 9 allergens. And that is exactly what they did. I think that this is just a testament to allergy moms. Like, they will do anything to protect their family, their kids, and make sure that they're not only like safe, but they're happy and included. And I love this.
I'm obsessed. Super allergy mom. They are so proud to announce the first ever and only Menu Trinfo certified free from the top 9 allergen meat snack on the market. Check out LK on Amazon or their website, lorissaskitchen.com. That's LORISSAS kitchen.com. Oh my gosh. And did you hear that they're in Sprouts now?
I did. I love Sprouts. They always have the most allergy friendly options and finds. And so now I can just add Lorissa's Kitchen to my cart.
I'm obsessed with Sprouts. Find me in the produce section trying to cool off in the summer heat, but they're in Sprouts as of this summer, which is huge.
Yes, go check them out.
Okay.
I remember whenever I was thinking ahead, and as allergy parents have to do, like way in advance, right? So we started school last August for Graham. He was in kindergarten. Actually, it was July because his school starts a little earlier. But so about a year ago, we were like ramping up to start kindergarten. But the ramp up, like the actual planning that I had to do, started 6 to 9 months before.
What?
Because,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. Because you have to write like actual legal documents, right? Like if you're going to a public school, then you are allowed as somebody with anaphylactic food allergies to have what's called a 504 plan, which is like a legally binding document that helps ensure that you have the same access to education in like a safe way. So for food allergies, you know, they're saying like there have to be certain things in place for that child to like safely be able to get the same education as Joe and Sally sitting next to them that maybe don't have severe food allergies. It's also used for many other like disabilities, right? Or, you know, it's not just a food allergy thing.
What are examples of that? Like,
what do you mean?
Like you're saying for them to have an equal, essentially, opportunity education.
Yeah. So, I mean, I view it as more just so that they are safe, so that they can like attend school safely, healthy.
If it's not a word, I think it's a word, but if it's not, it is now.
Great.
Yeah.
So yeah, essentially just like making sure that they're not going to have a reaction at school so that they can stay at school and learn is how I view it. But yeah, so that 504 document, and we can link to, there's like some good resources online for sure that exists through FAIR. I think Red Sneakers has some, and some others.
Have to hire a lawyer for this?
No.
Okay.
Yes. So each public school generally, or at least the like division of public schools where you're going, usually has like a 504 officer who helps you. I have heard from some people online, and every school district's going to be probably a little bit different, but some schools have you fill out like their form. So they kind of already have one that you like fill in the blanks with a little bit. And then others like mine, they were okay with me basically creating the whole document myself and sending it to them, and they kept that on file. And then they did have one that was kind of their own that they copied and pasted from. So they kept mine like in his file, like the full information, but theirs that they had to like submit to whatever agency or state something.
Board. Yeah.
They used my exact wording, and they thanked me so much because they were like, you did all the work for us. Like, we don't have to hardly ask any questions. We did have a meeting like right before school started with, I think it was the assistant principal, the school nurse, me, and the 504 coordinator to like, they pulled it up on the big screen and we went through everything and we all signed off, and it was, I mean, it's a whole thing.
Wow. I want to read through this.
Yeah.
Like, what are you able to put not whatever you want in there, but like things that are important to you. Like, if he shows any symptoms, he immediately goes to the nurse. Like, you give him the epi. Like, I don't have to answer the phone if you're seeing the sign. Like, what does it look like?
So that is that detail is kind of already in his action plan, which is a part of it all anyway. But there are things like, I get first dibs on going on the field trips. Like, I get to go to every field trip. Or you could do things like, the class needs to wash their hands after snack time, and before any like further instruction in the class, or wipes need to be used instead. It can be, there needs to be like his epinephrine needs to follow him around the school. So that's in ours. We have a little fanny pack that I bought for the teacher, which nobody has to do, but it was.
I remember that. Yeah. Like, you were like
I bought like 5, and I was like, "Here's options. I would love for you to pick your favorite."
Yes, yes. And you were showing everybody all of it. Like, this one has 3 pockets. This one has 2, but it does have insulation. And this one, they have the 3 color schemes. Like, it was so fun. It was like you were like fashion blogger for that week
for the short snippet. Yes,
fanny pack.
It never will come back. But fashion, fanny pack fashion blogger. We can't speak.
I'm obsessed.
But if I was a fashion blogger, it would be something weird like fanny packs. Anyway, so but I did do that. Like, I wanted to ensure that she was comfortable. So, she was thinking she would just put it on a lanyard, essentially like the little bag on a lanyard, and like wear it around her neck when they were going through the school and like pass it off to the next person. But I was like, that seems a little uncomfortable to be like hanging on your neck, and like maybe she would like a cute fanny pack. So I bought like 3 on Amazon and 2 somewhere else, and went and brought them to her and said like, "Hey, do you like any of these?" And she picked her favorite. And so it gave her some like agency in like, I know I'm being kind of made to do this, but like, at least I get to look cute or like feel comfortable doing it. So trying to really work with the teacher, I think, is like super key. But yeah, that was in the 504 that like I didn't want the epinephrine just in the office. And if something happened at recess and then they have to like run to the office, and then it's like, where is it? And it felt like I was leaving too many things up to chance in that scenario. And so I really wanted it to be with him wherever he was, even though the school's not that big. It just made more sense to me. Again, everyone's comfort level is going to be different. So like, what I do isn't going to be like what the next person does or what you should do. But I do think for me, it made me feel better knowing that it was not on his body, on his person, but like the next best thing.
All that may be even better, like to have it on an adult's body. I can imagine that ending up on the tire swing. Like,
and
it could be anywhere, truly.
Yes. I mean, especially at this young of age, and we talked about this before, that like, I just don't feel like he is quite ready, knowing him personally as his mom. Like, I don't think he's quite ready and responsible to carry it himself.
I would say I'm a very responsible person, but I had a running joke with my senior calculus teacher that I would leave my purse more days than I would remember it, like in the bottom of my desk chair. And he had my mom's phone number, because obviously my phone was in the purse, and would text her like more days than not, being like, Danielle's purse is at the school. I didn't carry an EpiPen at that point. I didn't know any better. But like, if you're a mom being like, oh my gosh, well, maybe when he's 9, maybe, but also maybe, maybe not.
Like, you might just be a forgetful person.
Some people forget their things everywhere. Like me.
I'm just realizing, is my shirt?
Nope, it's good. Is my shirt?
No.
We'll have like a bra
I'm flashing
flag.
Everybody. Okay. So let's see. We were talking about just what is kind of in the 504, and I have a long list, but those are like kind of the variety of things that can be. Also, like no food related activities in the classroom. I mean, you can really get like granular with what your request. Now, this is just kind of who I am, but I don't ever want to I want to advocate and I want to do everything that needs to be done to keep my son safe. I don't, though, want to be a pain in the ass for the teacher.
Totally.
So, like, it's not that I'm like, well, I'm not going to do this thing that would keep him safe because I don't want to annoy the teacher. Absolutely not. I'm going to do everything that is required. But, like, I also really, really worked hard to think of reasonable things that weren't going to interrupt instruction, weren't going to, impact the other kids, a lot, that weren't going to be extra stressful or hard for her. I mean, just remembering to like grab the fanny pack and pass it to the art teacher who then passes it to the next, like that already is extra. And teachers work so hard for so little pay that like just that one little thing extra, I'm like, it's necessary. You're going to do it. But like, I'm not going to think of like 14 million other things just as almost like a safety behavior versus like a necessary, this needs to be for his safety at school.
Can we just talk about how come teachers don't get paid more? Like I can't imagine having that many little people for that many hours, for that many days, for that many months of the year. Like I can't. And then you have one, much less, maybe even more kids with special needs that are very high stakes. And like these people should be getting paid more than doctors, lawyers.
Not
lawyers.
Doctors. Yes. Yeah. And like many professions, honestly, like you look at these, we're in Austin, like there's so many like tech guys, tech bros, and they make so much money.
These guys who are selling some weird software, hardware, and I'm like, excuse me, you own how many Teslas? Yeah. And that teacher has to make an Amazon wish list for enough glue?
It's unreasonable. I mean, the difference is they're getting paid by these giant tech companies, whereas the teachers are getting paid by the state, and everything is wrong and corrupt with the way we handle money in this country. But so that's probably the reason, but it's not right, and it certainly needs to be corrected.
I just can't believe it's free. Like you can just send your kid to school.
Yeah. Thank God, though, right?
Somebody teaches them things.
Yeah, I know.
Me as a true non-parent. This is free?
Yes. Well, yeah. And some people don't, for a lot of allergy reasons and other, like feel comfortable sending their kid to a public school because maybe there aren't a lot of resources. Maybe they don't have a school nurse. We've talked about that before. Whereas like private education sometimes may have more resources like that. The difference though is, and you kind of have to, as always, weigh the options. In like private education, you don't have the option of this like legal document in a 504 plan. They have things like that. You can certainly like submit, and people do, like work with the school educators and admin to create these sort of documents, but there's nothing like with the rubber stamp, like holding
state of
there.
Texas.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't know, it just really depends on individual situations and areas and comfort levels and all of that.
As unique as our allergies themselves.
But I would say that one of the big things that made me start so soon, like almost a year before he even started kindergarten, or at least thinking about it, was the work on the 504 plan. So like learning what it was, learning like what it should include, what my options were, and then like writing it and rewriting it, and then initiating the conversations with the school. All of that takes so much time. Beyond that, though, I wanted more than just, hey, I'm doing this legal document, checking the box. He is a 504. Here's his action plan. And again, this is not me saying if you're not doing it, you're like not keeping your child safe. Like that's not what I'm saying.
This is what are in your family do.
So the other thing I wanted to do is, because he was going to be in different rooms with these specials teachers, so music, PE, art, I felt like, I know they didn't need to have every single detail that, say, the teacher had, who had him most of the day, but I felt like they needed to know who Graham was. Like they needed to know his name, what he looked like, what his allergies are, the fact that he cannot eat anybody else's food or be given like a random snack, or, like a lot of times people use food food as a reward. You know, it's like, oh, the class was really good today. Here's some M&Ms for the whole class, you know? And I wanted to make sure that wasn't going to be taking place, to where either he was given something and ate it, or knew not to eat it, but was left out, you know? So, what I did was I created like a one pager that had his picture. Like I made it on Canva, and I put his little picture and his name and his age.
So cute.
And then, his like anaphylactic allergies and like the top 3 things they needed to know. So it was, he's allergic to these things. He cannot eat anything that I haven't provided. And please familiarize yourself with the signs and symptoms of anaphylaxis, and then follow the treatment plan. And I like printed that out. And then I printed out his action plan, like his fair action plan for anaphylaxis, and stapled them, and then gave these little packets to his teacher, who then passed them out to each of his specials teacher. So they like from the start, like day 1, knew like, here's Graham, here's what he's allergic to, here's what you can and cannot do. And I was approached by several people who were very, very thankful for that, because a lot of times it's not, you feel like you're being like a burden or annoying, but like a lot of times people are just like, no, like, thank you for allowing me to know this information so that I don't mess up. Because guess what? If the art teacher messes up and he has a severe reaction, her life has changed, right? Like
totally.
At the very least, her day, her week, her whatever has changed, because she wasn't the responsible adult that she needed to be, because she didn't have the information.
She just didn't know.
Right.
Oh my gosh. I think of anybody's special anything. And like a lot of the times I am like deer in headlights, where I'm just like, and as the person who's oftentimes on the other end of it, it's not that you're a burden, and it's not, even though it feels like it, like, oh my gosh, I'm being too much. Oh my gosh, I'm being a burden. Oh my gosh, like they're not gonna be able to handle this. It's just, this is their day 1. This is hour 1 of day 1. They've never been around somebody with food allergies. They don't like, this is like really serious languaging, and like, it feels like a lot. And so they're like, oh my God, what do I do? Like being handed those tools.
Yep.
Lifeline. Okay. Now I can dig my claws in. Now I can be an advocate. Now I can be one of the people who takes care of your little person.
Yeah.
Versus just being like, no, this, that, the other.
Right.
Like, of course, like what sort of reaction do you think they're going to have? It's just hard when you're on the receiving end, and like overthinking, like I'm being too much, or like, did they really understand? But really, like, I think about whatever it is, like somebody who's in a wheelchair, or somebody who has celiac. I don't know anything about celiac. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like if somebody started having a seizure because of their celiac, I genuinely wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah.
So like, it's just so different when you're on both of the perspectives, and it's so easy to feel so loudly one type of way, and it switches on a dime.
Yes.
Depending where you're standing.
And I think I also didn't want those people to just get like overloaded with information to where, or like, you know, a lot of kids have 504. So maybe they're just like, it feels routine. It's like, okay, here's this, you know, whereas like the one pager that was like colorful and had his picture and was made on Canva, like it sticks out. So it's like simplified information that they need to know, and it kind of catches their eye in a way that they're going to like absorb it and feel better about, that day 1, like I can handle this. I've got everything I need to know.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was a really good thing that I did, and I'll continue to do. And I don't know that anybody told me. I just kind of like made it up. And like I said, a lot of people were really grateful for that information. So it's definitely something I would recommend.
I have a question. So there's a lot of, I mean, we've said this till we're blue in the face, like everybody's different. Only do it, you know, your individual situation. But do you have anything when you're talking about like, you don't want to be difficult, you're going to keep him safe, but you're not going to go overboard. What are some things that you allow that would maybe be surprising to me or to anybody listening? Like,
what do you mean by allow?
Like your no's have been no like food related activities in the classroom.
Yeah.
Like what are some of your yeses?
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Like things that maybe
It's like the school version of calculated risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. I'm trying to think. I think the idea that the school in general is not peanut free is something that like, I think I could have gone hard on that. Like, I think I maybe could have been like, absolutely, I want it to be peanut free or like and, or whatever, you know, and that's the other thing. It's like peanuts versus milk, right? Like he has both allergies and like you never would feel like the whole school has to be free of milk and butter and cheese. Like that's impossible.
Yeah.
So I think that's the argument people make why like having a peanut free school sometimes isn't really beneficial or helpful, because it's like, okay, yes, it takes one thing off the table, which is great. But also like people make mistakes and bring it anyway. And then you have this false sense of security. And anyway, all of this to say, like, I think I could have been a little like harder on that. His class is peanut free though. So they don't have it like in their snacks that they're eating in the classroom. But, you know, people are still eating it around him or like at the lunch table and then going out to play at recess. So like I think I maybe could have been more like hardcore on that, but I said, you know what, with like adequate wiping or hand washing and him being aware and mindful, I think it will be okay. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but the hand washing thing, like after every meal, like I felt like there wasn't a sink in the classroom like it was in preschool. So for me to ask them like after every snack and every lunch that they have to each go and wash their hands, I was like, it just, to me, that just felt like a lot to ask the teacher to like police that. And she doesn't have an aide or resources to like help her. Plus then like the kids are dilly-dallying in the hallway and they're not getting back in time. Like it just felt like I can do other things instead of that. Like I can put other things in his plan and talk with the teacher extensively about it. You know, she's really good about making sure like he is washing his hands before he eats.
So do they do wipes?
Yeah.
Or nothing?
So, okay. So they do wipes. I'm trying to remember. Gosh, it's been like already the summer. I'm like, what do we do?
What do we do?
But no, I think that they do wipes after when they come in from recess.
Okay.
And then they wash after snack. Because the snack is eaten in the classroom. I think that's our makeup. But yeah, I mean, really the school that we work with, I think some are kind of hard asses. Like I've heard from other people that they just like don't want to bend. If they've not done something before, they don't want to do it this time. Our school was really, really good. Like pretty much anything I asked, they were like, okay, we can do that. We can manage that. And I think that one of the reasons for that is because I, again, came at them like very reasonably, and I immediately developed like a close relationship with the teacher. So I sat down with her, we kind of became friends. There was an open dialogue from the very beginning. It wasn't like I was coming in there with an iron fist. Totally. You know, it's all about the approach. I think, you know, doing things early, coming in very reasonable, being able to like work with them. If the teacher or somebody says, that's going to be hard because of this, really try to understand their perspective, because you're not a teacher. You're not dealing with 18 5-year-olds. Totally. So you might have to hold your ground on some things, but I think hearing them out, trying to understand them, and then collaboratively working together to make sure that they're safe, but it's also practical in the classroom is really important.
Talk to me about like when Graham was more in the toddler nursery phase. Now we're going to take a break to tell you a little bit about a new company that we found that we think is going to be helpful for a lot of you all. TeleRx was founded on the idea that everyone deserves equal access to healthcare. Their drive to eliminate unnecessary barriers is rooted in their belief that healthcare should be inclusive, convenient, and readily available. TeleRx ensures that you will always have access to an EpiPen.
Effortlessly request a prescription online and order an EpiPen for next day delivery. All temperature-sensitive medications are shipped in insulated packaging. The 100% online process just takes minutes and is free of videos, photos, and lengthy forms. Visit telyrx.club/EpiPod and use the code EpiPod for 20% off. TeleRx is your faster way to wellness.
Woohoo! There was like powdered milk. There was nursery. It's milk everywhere. So like, is there a 504 for the parents of really, really, really littles? Or like, how does that work with preschools?
No, not
That's like
if
the
there's-
private school thing.
Yeah, it's similar to that. If it's like any kind of like private institution, then no. But I think, at least in our case, we were at one time with a daycare that was a commercial one. What's the word I'm looking for? They're in all different states. You know, it was like a big name.
Franchise.
There we go. Thank you. Oh my gosh. And so they had a lot of protocols and things in place already, and had education that they did yearly that they were up to date on. They did training with epinephrine. So, you know, I just kind of had to come in and say, here are his allergies. I need to know what the procedures are, like what you do here in terms of your day-to-day, like what they do in the classroom, and then make sure that my child will be safe in that scenario. Or like, let's talk about labeling. How can we ensure, can he have a separate basket? Like one time in daycare, I had them have his stuff in a separate fridge. I think they had a fridge in the other classroom that they shared with 2 or 3 classrooms, and they all had the labeled for each kid's stuff in the fridge. And I asked for his stuff to be in his own separate fridge. And I think they eventually did get a little mini fridge for the classroom just for his stuff and this other kid who had allergies. But until then, I kind of had like an enclosed case or like box to put his stuff in and then put it in the fridge versus just like throwing the bottles in there. So things like that I worked with them on. And then as he got into a smaller kind of private preschool, it was only 8 kids. And again, I had that very good open communication with the teacher, and they were very good about hand washing. I remember he went from that to kindergarten. He's been sick like so much in kindergarten. So even beyond allergies, just like the cleanliness factor and germs factor, in his preschool, she was very, very diligent about the allergies and making sure they wash their hands after everything. And for that entire year, he didn't go to the doctor for an entire year.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm like, when the doctor says hand washing is the most important thing, like they're not lying. It protected him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Were you just like, what would it take for you to open a 1st through 12th grade, ma'am? She's like, I handle 4-year-olds, lady.
Yes. Oh man. But yeah, I think in those scenarios, you're not going to have anything necessarily legally binding like through the state, but you can oftentimes work with them on a closer level because it's not like as big of a school situation. So I felt I had a little more comfort in that. Not more so, but just it allowed me to feel better.
Yeah. It's a different kind of back to school process, but was one that you've been back to school processing since he was in his infancy.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's not just like, oh, I'm nervous to send my kid to school. You know, like how like normal parents feel,
right?
Which I'm like, I get, because I had that too, but then add on 14 other layers of nervous. Gosh. I mean, it's just, as with everything, allergies just complicate or like add additional layers to every process.
I think it's really interesting too. Like you think about how technology and cell phones have changed the landscape with dating, with work, with just like expectations and communication in general are so different than they used to be just when I was in school. Yeah. Like my parents could never get a hold of my teacher. My teacher could never be like, hey, they brought this brand of cookies, this good? There was no communication.
Wow.
Like, only if you're in the office, like you had to go to the office. There wasn't even a nurse.
Right.
But like Gosh, I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, because I mean, I text with the teacher
All day long.
I mean, some days, and then sometimes it maybe text her once a week, but yeah, she's always sending me labels and things. That's the other thing that I did with the teacher is, so I have the 504, like the legal thing with the school. I had the 1-pagers, and then I also had a document that was more like plain language, like less official and more, I think it was like 1 or 2 pages Word document where it was just more granular to Graham. Like, he's in this treatment program. And by the way, that's another thing in the 504 is that like he might be missing more school. Like he needs to be excused for more absences because he is traveling to these appointments.
It's not like truancy problem.
Yes.
He is in a medical program.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like even being late, like we have a lot of food that he has to eat in the morning. And so like if we're tardy more often, he needs to be excused for that. Although I am proud to admit that we were never tardy. And so
Sarah, I was tardy possibly every single day of my entire
tracks.
Yeah. Oh my God. Now to this day, I'm still that way. I'm like, be there in 5 minutes.
It's fine. But I just didn't want to, again, like I never want to use allergies as an excuse, like, or like I'm using it or taking advantage of it, you know? So I didn't want to say he might be late because of allergy things and then just kind of like show up late a lot and be like, it's because of the allergies.
Totally.
So it almost probably made us more on time because I was like, I don't want them to think I'm using this as an excuse. So I'm going to be like really on top of our game.
So good. Oh my gosh. The way that I would stroll into chapel, and then in high school, I would stroll in post horseback riding.
Oh my gosh.
That's the only like government document thing we've ever had to do with a school is like getting me the ability to ride for my PE credit. And when I was going to be really late, which really just meant my mom and I were stopping at Starbucks back when I went through drive-thrus.
Yeah.
I would just be like, okay, well, I won't change out of my boots, and then they'll know. I probably got bucked off the horse.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my.
So silly.
That's okay. We all have our things. Your thing is your fashion. At least you're fashionably
so
late.
chic.
Yeah, always. Oh man. But yeah, so that kind of document that detailed like more things just about him in particular, or, you know, hey, he tends to get, if he touches the allergen, he tends to get hives. It needs to be kind of wiped down and then, you know, put some cream on it, or even things like, you know, he's allergic to these things, but like these 2 are the ones that, the bad ones, you know, we are most concerned with based on his history or his numbers or whatever. I don't know. I need to pull back up that document and go through it. But just like basically what I would tell a babysitter, right? Like if a babysitter was coming over or was watching him for a few days, or like just the detailed things about Graham, not necessarily just the legal type of here's how to keep him safe. It was more about him. So she was like getting to know how he is, who he is, what he is, how he responds, that sort of stuff.
Can you talk a little bit about like communication? Is that in the plan? Like you were saying, if he gets hives, like are you to be notified if any sort of like whether it's contact or not happens? Yeah.
So, and also know to any parents out there that you're going to do a lot of work and you're going to do a really good job, and then you're still going to find things that are not done, or that are like, oh, I should have done this, or I should have adjusted this, or hey, we need to add this in. Like it's a working document. Oh, cool. For sure. It actually is, and it just will be in theory that like things are going to change or things are going to come up and you're going to realize, that we didn't talk about that. So yes, for that, there was an incident where he went to the nurse's office, I remember at the beginning of school, and it was something not allergy related, but could have been. He said like his throat felt funny or something, and the teacher was alert enough and aware enough to immediately take him to the nurse's office. Well, then he had water, like he was fine. Nothing else was happening. It wasn't a big deal. But then I didn't find out about it till Graham told me that he went to the nurse's office. Oh. And I was like, what? Uh-oh. Like, no, that's not how this is going to work. Like, I need to know if he steps foot in a nurse's office.
Right.
And now to them, though, if a kid goes with a boo-boo and gets a Band-Aid on their knee because they fell on the playground, they're not calling parents for that.
Right.
And so in their view, nothing was wrong, right? Like he was fine. They didn't need to call me. And I get that. They actually didn't technically need to call me. But when it comes to the allergy thing, again, that's something I would recommend putting in your plan.
Especially with your treatment. Like
Yes.
you should know if his throat has been feeling off, even if it's not allergy related.
Yes.
Because then maybe he shouldn't be dosing that night. Like,
Totally.
hello?
Yes. And so, but again, they're not going to know and understand all that unless you tell them. So that was something that I said to myself, okay, we need to go back. We need to put this in the notes and also just have a conversation with them about. There was another time whenever they gave him like fruit snacks and I found out again from Graham that like, oh, we got fruit snacks today. And I'm like, excuse me. And now granted,
You're like, I didn't pack you fruit snacks.
Right. And now granted, fruit snacks are like 99.9% going to be safe for him, you know, based on his allergies. But I wasn't told. And the art teacher, I guess, had asked his teacher if it was okay, and they checked the label and they did the whole they did everything right. But I need to know about it for me, you know. Now it did get down the line where I got close enough with the teacher where I said like, I would love for you to send me a picture of the label, but as long as you check it, like if you're giving it one day and then you give it the next day, like, and it's the same thing, like you have these little snacks and like every day this week you're getting that, like, I don't need to know
every
that
single
formally,
day.
You know,
Yeah.
but I do need to know that like he was given it, you know, or that like, hey, we checked the label, here it is, double checking it's okay. And from that point forward, she definitely did that.
This woman deserves a yacht.
Yes. Nobel Peace Prize, a yacht, all the things.
Whatever she wants.
She's amazing. And there was another time on a field trip that she forgot to bring his epinephrine. And the nurse didn't remember either. Like, and that, thankfully, I was going and I brought one from home as a second backup.
Oh, no. That's
Yes.
so scary.
So all of these things, it is scary. And all of these things, like, I think it's good to know going into it, number one, things that have happened to other people so that like y'all can be jotting right now all the notes, like, okay, got to put this in. But also just like to mentally prepare yourself that like things will come up.
Human error
happens and it's how you work through it. So like I had a conversation with her. I had a conversation with the nurse. Like we put it different wording in the 504 plan. She'll never forget again. You know what I mean? And again, thankfully I had already known that I was going and that I was going to bring it. But
have you gone to every field trip?
Me or Mark? Yeah.
Okay,
have gone to everyone and just, it's a good thing. I mean,
it's like barely 6. That makes total sense.
Yeah. And I think, you know, field trip that you're out in the middle of somewhere or, you know, people are packing really like snack lunches or like brown bag lunches, which oftentimes is a PB&J type of deal. Whereas at school, it might not be as much so that way because they're having containers that they can like bring home versus like on the field trip, they ask you to pack everything, throw away. So it's like the go-to is like a PB&J, you know, for a lot of people. And so it's just, there's not sinks around oftentimes, you know, it's just, there's more room for error on a field trip. So I personally feel like I need to be there, or Mark, but yeah. So little things did and will happen. But it's how you move forward. Like if you don't come at them with, how dare you, I can't believe, you know, like you're not going to have a good working relationship like that.
Totally.
Now at the same time though, they need to know you're serious because they can't keep messing up. You know what I mean? Like I've even sent teachers, we won't go into them because I know it's triggering, but like articles where like something horrible has happened, like at a school or has something has nearly happened. I'll like gently, not to be like, yeah, see, but like I'll send them, I have done it. Like I literally copied and pasted an article and I say like, I'm so thankful and grateful for all you do to keep Graham safe. It means so much to me. And I really trust what you guys are doing there. I would probably lose sleep though, if I didn't share this article about something tragic that happened so that, you know, you are aware that mistakes have been made like this and don't make them yourself or like with my child. Like, I just want you to know that this happened. And also it reinforces the this is serious vibe, you know, whereas some people might be like, I'll do all this stuff, it's fine, but they're still not thinking like it could lead to somebody's death.
Totally.
And so when you share an article like that, I mean, you'd have to be not a human being to not be affected by reading something like that. And so I think it just, again, reminds them that it is very, very serious and that they don't want to be the person that's somehow responsible for that, right?
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, but and I do my very best though to like word it to where it's not at all threatening,
right?
Because
it's not like,
it's not like you see what happened here, you're gonna be sued or you're like whatever,
your life will be ruined.
Yes, no, it's more just like I need to know that you understand that this is something that happened. And it can't happen to my kid. And like, let's continue to work closely together to make sure that it doesn't.
Yeah.
Or even just bringing it up in conversation as like this like rocked me, and I've been thinking about it nonstop.
I'm so glad that you guys do the loop year and you don't have to. Yes. That's so overwhelming.
It is.
A whole new teacher every single year.
Yes. And you'd have to redo it. Yeah. Every single time.
I'm sure this has been so helpful. I can just like imagine all the little notes that were made.
Yeah.
But we're for sure going to link all of the resources that you recommend that were helpful for you.
Yes.
In
and
the
coming
show
up with these documents. Okay. So I'm trying to think if there's any last minute nuggets, but we can add things to the show notes. We can have additional conversations on this as school starts. But hopefully that was helpful.
Yes. And also, just like the 504 plan, this can be a working episode.
Totally.
We can do a part 2 if we need to. So if you all are listening to this and you're like, wait a minute, school is just around the corner, it's just started, like I have these questions, please email them to us.
Yeah.
What is it?
EpiPod podcast.
There we go.
At gmail.com.
EpiPod podcast at gmail.com.
Yes.
Email them to us. You can DM them to us too. They just sometimes get stuck in weird folders that we don't see.
Yeah.
So definitely send us an email. And if we need to do a part 2,
we could do it.
We could do it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay.
Should we do questions?
Let's do it. And this segment is brought to you by InchBug, our favorite name label company. These are like sticky-on labels. They also have the ones that wrap around your water bottle.
Oh, nice.
That like hug them really tight and stay on. But the labels that are sticky, you can customize them for your allergens and they don't move. Like you can put them through the dishwasher and they stay put. So perfect for back to school.
My favorite part is that they are the founder of the company, or the owner of the company, is an allergy mom.
Yes.
And she has been a food allergy advocate before she even discovered that her child had a food allergy. Super exciting.
Yes.
Okay, it's linked in the bio. As always, thank you, InchBug. And we have a code for you all, EpiPod25. Okay.
All right, let's get into it.
First question. This is more solidarity.
Okay.
But I would like to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
What we can share with this person. Okay. Hi, I have literally just spent the last hour defending my child's allergy to my own brother-in-law. I don't know who else to vent to about it, but I have been told I'm just the honest one, that he is just the honest one telling how everyone else feels. Being around you as a lot, it's stressful, and when I go on vacation, I just want to relax, quote unquote. Ugh, I know I'm probably just venting here, but I don't know who else to go to who would really understand. And so I said, okay, that's fine. You don't have to travel with us. And then, oh no, you are blowing it all out of proportion. Just relax a little. That's all. You just need to relax a little. I am feeling so triggered and my heart is hurting.
Well, my heart is hurting for her. I mean, just to not feel supported, believed, that feels bad in any scenario. And then when it comes to like the safety of your child, to not feel believed or to be told that you're overreacting or making too big a deal of it, it feels like the ultimate gut punch.
I get told I'm too much a lot. Like, oh, you're being so dramatic. You used to not be like this. You're too much. You're ruining everybody else's time. And I'm just like, okay, I shouldn't have come. So like this also was triggering to me too.
Yeah.
Like I have so been there, and I am there often.
Yeah.
And there's not really a lot else you can say other than, and I never do, but it's like, oh, you're feeling stressed or tired or like this is too much, because for one meal out of the vacation, you're hearing me having to adjust or do something different or last minute have to be Googling things. Like imagine if this was your 24/7.
Right.
It just speaks to a mega lack of empathy. And I get to the point where I'm just like, I don't have words. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a really interesting way to put it, but I hear you.
Yeah. I love that. Just pointing out that you're like, that's interesting, or like, wow, funny that you would say something like that, because to me, it's stressful all the time. And this is something I carry with me every day. So I'm sorry that I've inconvenienced you today.
I don't even say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Those words never pass my lips.
You're so right. It just comes out naturally, but you shouldn't be sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry for existing?
I'm sorry for having a immune system that doesn't function normal, and I did nothing to make it happen this way.
By the way, you had no choice in the matter.
And doctors don't even know why.
Right. Yeah. No, so good. I'm glad you stopped me there.
Yeah.
Because it just comes out of your mouth because like people pleasing tendencies.
Totally.
And it's like, no, I don't need to apologize. I don't need to say sorry. Absolutely not.
I get the feedback of like, oh, like you're blowing this out of proportion. It's like, because I'm responding to what you said. What?
I know.
And I also get the feedback of like, it's not a positive response when I'm tired. I'm tired of explaining. I'm tired of advocating. It takes so much just to keep my head above water and a smile on my face. And then also to be lifting you up because, oh, you're inconvenienced and tired for this one vacation, this one trip. So I'm just like, I get a poor response of almost like bashed up for the way I'm responding, which is I'm choosing to not respond. But that's a really interesting way to respond to that. I just won't come next time. Or
yeah. But then again,
I'm going to go do this.
Yeah. But then again, like that message said, then that person says, oh, I didn't say that. I didn't mean not come, or, like you're being dramatic now even more. And it's like, God, you can't win.
The amount of times I've been told that I'm dramatic and I'm being too much.
Yeah.
And the label is the same. We've bought the same label. Why are you reading that label?
Because I'd rather not have an accident.
Either I read the label or I don't eat the food.
Yeah. I know.
I would say, which do you want? But I'll choose. None of the above. I'm just going to go downstairs.
Yeah.
I'll come up and make myself something different when you all are done, so I don't stress anybody out. It's really hard. It never gets easier.
Yeah.
So to this person, I just want to say, like, you're not alone. Because I know in those scenarios, when I've been in them, you just feel so icky. You feel so othered. You feel too much and not enough all at the same time. And so at the very least, I'm sure there's plenty of other people listening and nodding their heads like, oh my gosh, I've been there.
Yeah.
Like, you feel so lonely in those moments, but it's important to remember, like, we've all felt that way and we've all felt really isolated afterwards. Yeah. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, really sorry. And I hope that at some point this significant other, or not significant other, but family member finds some empathy, gets hit by some kind of lightning bolt of like support.
Why did my brain immediately go to Regina George? I'm like, hit by a bus. Just kidding.
You're like kidding, but not kidding. I mean, yeah, because you want to be like, go find new friends or go find new family, but like it's not that simple. And so, yeah, I mean, hang in there and try to explain. But if you've already done that and it's not working, then protect your peace, protect your kids. And
I just sort of distance myself. Yeah. And I really like, maybe
they'll get the natural consequence.
Yeah.
You know?
If it's family, you're right. You can't do anything about it. But what I found to be really helpful is leaning into the family and the relationships that really do support me. And maybe they might not understand, but they really are curious. They really want to ask, how can I help? Like they want to be there to help me lift it up, not to make my plate even heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay. Question 2.
Question
You going to read it again?
Yeah, I'll read it again.
Okay. You're our question girl today.
Lana of the Q's. Lana?
I don't know what you're saying.
Vanna White. My brain.
I was like, maybe that's a reference on TikTok that I don't know.
No.
I was just going to go with it.
Lana Del Rey lives rent-free in my head, but I meant Vanna White of the Q's.
Got it.
Here we go. Okay. Hi. How do I explain to a toddler that they cannot have foods that their cousins and their friends can?
Oh, that's so tricky.
I think we were talking about this earlier, like going through the ages and sort of like how that messaging changes through the ages.
That's an entire episode.
Yeah. So we'll do a whole episode on this. But for a how did you tell toddler Graham this?
I think giving them the knowledge, not necessarily telling them like,
you're going to die.
Right. Yeah. But giving them the knowledge that these are your allergens. You have to check every label every time. You can't try something unless mommy, says it's okay. I think them having that like foundation really helps set the stage for like, this isn't like he can have it, you can't. It's that like, okay, let's look, let's check the label. This has your allergens. You're not allowed to have your allergens. So it's the same thing, but for some reason, I feel like it's a little bit different. It's like the label's fault, not like your fault, if that makes sense. But then, I mean, it is tricky. Like they're going to have a moment of like being bummed out when they can't have it. I would say when they were really little, I really tried to put them in situations where they weren't having that happen, like trying to make sure that they're not in situations where everyone's getting something that they're not. And if they do have something different, that it's like of equal value. Obviously you can't protect them from that all of the time, but for example, like everyone does it differently, but when he was really little and didn't understand that he couldn't have the French fry because it has an allergen in it, like when he was really little, I wouldn't get the French fries he couldn't have. Like we all lived according to Graham, because to me, it wasn't fair to tell a kid who does not understand, hey, you can't have this. It just feels like mommy's keeping something from you, not like I'm trying to keep you safe. So as he got older and A, he didn't even want it, or B, he understood that like there are some things that I can't have. It was the cognitive ability to say like that has my allergies in it, I can't have it, made it make more sense in his head and feel a little less bad, I think, as he got older. But when he was little, and you can't really explain that to a 2-year-old, it was more just, I'm not going to ever have something that he wants that he can't have.
Okay. I want to play devil's advocate. I'm always on Team Sarah. Yeah. But like, how does this apply? Like, I don't remember being a toddler, but like if it's like a cup of hot coffee or like a glass of wine, like you'll have adult only things around toddlers, food allergies or not. Yeah. Like what is it about that? Like,
I think because I just always tried to be truthful with the child, right? Like with my kids. So he can't have a sip of wine because this is for grown-ups, but pizza and French fries aren't just for grown-ups. So I think that it was that element for me, that I just wanted to be like real with him, but instead of like trying to make a 2-year-old understand something that he couldn't understand, I just like eliminated the situation altogether. Again, that's not possible everywhere you go. You're going to be at the park and with a new friend who brought the snack for every kid, and you didn't know they were bringing the snack. And then you just have to be like, okay, I'm glad I have my own snacks. It's not the same. And he might be upset for a minute, but kind of distract and move on, and then get them something special later, and then maybe have a conversation later, about why that happened. And like, it must feel really hard. I'm sorry, if they're struggling, kind of coming at them with that empathy and understanding afterwards. But yeah, just when they're real little, I tried to avoid the situation completely. And then as they got older, just really giving them like the base knowledge of allergies, why it's important to avoid the food, and, making sure that they had something of like similar value, and understanding that it still might hurt, but being there for them when it does.
I love that. Yeah, we've talked about this before. I can't speak to being a toddler, like I just said, but if it gives this person any solace, like as their toddler grows up, they may be, I was one of these kids, Graham is one of these kids, like a lot of food allergy kids are extremely picky. So a lot of the times, it's a lot of worrying of like, oh my gosh, but they can't have it. And it's like, I wanted nothing to do with it. Yeah. Like if it wasn't my special thing, cut in my special heart shape, whatever. Yeah. Like that's for everybody else. Ew, have at it.
Yeah. Graham's a little bit like that too. Like he likes what he likes and he loves his lunch. Like I've asked him before kind of real casually, like, are you sad that, you know, you can't have, I can't think of exactly the scenario,
but like, you're not kind of feeding it to him.
No, but like very much was like, oh, is that a bummer for you? Do you like what I pack you? And he's like, no, I like my food. Like I want to eat my food, you know? There are little things like the yogurt tubes. So we bought pouches that we put his safe yogurt in. So it kind of felt like the yogurt tubes that everyone has.
Go-gurt.
Right. But I think I need to buy the Go-Gurt tubes. They have those like reusable ones, but I have the pouches that are like an apple pouch.
Yeah.
But I need to buy the tubes because he's said now 2 or 3 times that like he wishes he could have the Go-Gurt type tubey things. And so I'm like, all right, things like that. I want to, like he wants, you know, like he sees and he wants, but
it's like whatever's special, like whether it's like your own food or like the pouch that's fascinating to him.
Yeah.
I feel like that was something that really stuck out to me as a kid is like, it was always so special. It was always a positive and not because like it was being spun that way. I was just like, this is my special thing.
Yeah. And it was,
you can't have it because it's mine.
And it was probably delicious, right? So as long as like you're doing those special things and like making the food taste good, you know, even if it's an alternative, I think most times it probably hurts us more than it hurts the kids.
That makes sense.
But too, knowing that like it might build and it might start bothering them and making sure that they can come to you and you actually like listen and understand those worries or feelings, I think goes a long way.
It being the label's fault, back to that, is so good. That is such a good hack and loophole. I remember this past Halloween seeing you film Ethan like running with the candy bag and asking you, and you'd be like, oh, not this one. He's like, oh, not this label. Like, he was like, oh, bad label, basically. And it was never just like, oh, mom is trying to keep something from me.
Right.
And that not communicating in their brain, that not hooking up of being like, she's actually trying to keep me safe. It was never your fault. It was just like, what about this one? No, not this one. This one. Yay, this is a good label. I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. He almost felt like it was like a game. He wasn't disappointed. He was like, let me find the ones that I can have, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I love it. Cool.
Well, this was a fun episode. I hope it was helpful.
It definitely was.
And yeah, there's more to discuss, I'm sure. But school's a scary time, but it can be done. I mean, we got through kindergarten and we're gearing up for first grade.
Let's go first grade.
Good luck to all of the allergy parents out there that are starting their kiddos in school. We know it is challenging and nerve-wracking, but it can be done. It's possible. And yeah, send us your questions if you have more.
Yes, maybe part 2, pending.
Pending.
Thank you to Lorissa's Kitchen for being our presenting sponsor.
Yes.
InchBug, as always. We love you.
And TeleRx. Thank you so much. Okay. We could not do this podcast without your support, and we appreciate you wanting to get allergy content to the people who really need it and depend on, hearing voices that make them feel less alone.
Yeah. So. We talk about like being a plate lifter. These companies and talking to them and getting to know each of their brands, like they are trying to in bulk be plate lifters, which I'm so thankful for that too. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, we'll see you all next Tuesday.
See you next week.